Good morning, Your Excellency, the Ambassador, distinguished guests. You have definitely been much better in Romanian than myself at this hour. I'm not very used to have important speeches very early in the morning, but nevertheless, I wanted to be here, joined by some of the members of the cabinet, just to tell you very warmly welcome in Bucharest, in Romania. To be very honest, we have been waiting for you for a long time. Maybe after the 45, after the war, we still have been waiting for you. But finally, in '89, my country, I was then a teenager, of course, but my country made the radical change towards democracy, towards the rule of law, towards the European Union. And I will always remember, maybe I'm a little bit subjective, but excuse this, that's the first European Prime Minister who came in the Romanian Parliament back in '98 to say to Romanians, you are not only a part of the NATO family, you are also a part of European family, was Tony Blair. And that meant a lot for us, because a British Prime Minister in Romanian Parliament telling us that we are a part of the European family, it's something that, at least for my generation, it will not be very easy to forget, and we do not want to forget. Going back to business, I would say that it's a shared responsibility of having lower business partnership that we had to have. First of all, because Romania passed a very difficult period of crisis, something that was shared by most of the countries. 2009, 2010, 2011, huge economic, social problems. Fortunately, since 2012, we have succeeded to have already a 4-year in a row with consistent economic growth. The average was around 3%, which of course is not impressive maybe for China or for India, but for the European countries, it is a strong and sustainable economic growth. We have made important reforms, structural reforms, reduce the deficits, trying to make our economy more competitive, use much more the European funds. I keep complaining that in 2012, Romanian situation regarding the European funds was a real shame. Just 7% of the European funds allocated to Romania were spent in 5 years. It was an unbelievable shame. Now, we should not be satisfied being 55%, because we must look to the rest of 45, which are not yet spent or allocated. But nevertheless, I would say that during the last years, some of the areas on which British companies should and must invest in Romania, first of all, the IT, which doubled just in 2 or 3 years, the energy, infrastructure, agriculture, they have all these sectors developed and became much more competitive and much more able to develop and to attract investments. But I should also mention what I consider is the biggest treasure of Romania. This is the human resource. We have an unbelievable number of young, skilled, and very ambitious students graduating from the Romanian universities, which are becoming more and more competitive. And I think that the strategic goal for all prime ministers, all political leaders, younger or older, it's to find a way to keep this golden generation here in Romania, not only to give them an opportunity to have a good job and a good life somewhere in the United States, in UK, in the Western Europe. And thanks to the investments that UK companies, that American companies, European companies, and the business, which must be a win-win, a profitable and sustainable projects, we can achieve this strategic national goal to use our biggest treasure, which is the skilled young generation. So I count on you on this important project. I understand very well, and I assure you that it must be a win-win project. Important projects, sustainable projects, profitable projects, that the fiscal legislation, which has been already quite incentives, maybe you know that we still have the 16% flat tax. It is supposed to be and to continue to reduce the fiscal obligation to all the companies. The VAT is going to be reduced this year, the labor cost, everything just to make Romania a really important place to invest. And I would add something else. We know very well that we live in a very sensitive and complicated and sometimes even unstable region. We have at the east a big bear. Sometimes he pretends to sleep, sometimes he pretends to come closer to Romania, or it's making so much harm to Ukraine, to Moldova, to Georgia, to some other countries who are looking for the democratic development. But even more in these conditions, I can assure you, and it's not just the opinion of the government, I think it is based on all independent opinions, that Romania, it is and it's going to be the most stable and predictable country in the region. So it's the country to do business with, it's the country to make projects for the future, and I can assure you that you will always be welcomed in Romania. I just wish you a very fruitful visit to Romania. I just hope that you will discover all the good parts of Romanian. If you read the British media, sometimes maybe you see only the bad parts of Romanian, but that's why it's so important to be here and to see the good parts of our country and be welcomed. And I wish you all to come back in Romania for concrete projects. Thank you very much and have a good day.